Hello everyone. Today I will try to find out whether or not you can beat Across the Obelisk's highest difficulty while only playing spell cards. My rules for this challenge are that I can play any card that has the word spell as its card type, excluding boons and curses because I don't play those, they play themselves. Unlike last time, I will not be using character enchantments unless they duplicate a spell. Why? Because my last run went so well, and I figured that spells only would be easier. Yeah, silly me. This means that only 2 characters have meaningful level 4s, and no characters get power spikes at level 2. Thankfully, there are a lot of spells in the game, including some of the best support cards in the form of song spells. We also get access to a lot of healing and powerful buffs. Unfortunately, we can't stack other characters too much with Inspire and Energize, as spells with those buffs are incredibly limited. Here they are. These are all the cards we can play with those buffs. So, for the most part, spells that cost more than 4 energy can't be played reliably and are therefore not useful on this run unless we can get more energy or reduce the spell costs. For today's run, I decided to try a glass cannon approach with a wet cold lightning team. This is almost like my all mages run, except harder as we can't funnel resources to make Wilbur pop off in a single turn. This makes us heavily beholden to RNG, as there's nothing stopping us from drawing our 5 2-cost cards in one turn, despite our other 10 cards being 0 cost. The one thing we do have going for us that makes it slightly easier is Gustav the Frog. Gustav is faster than the fastest mage by 2, is one of the characters that can duplicate spell cards at level 4, and has access to song spells that speed up the entire team, allowing us to hit first. Not to mention Ballad of Evasion, which is one of the few ways we can avoid taking damage, and gives a team-wide Inspire. Will this be enough for us to win? Find out in today's episode of Across the Obelisk Madness 16 Challenge Run. Perks are in the description. Before getting into the run proper, while the perks are in the description, I am going to go briefly show them here, so anyone can take a look if they like. We are running the wet charges, stack cold damage, as well as reduce lightning resist. Gustav has heal perks. It kind of came up. It's a little bit helpful. Wilbur's tanky, got all the electric damage, got powerful buffs, has bless buff too, because we can get Ballad of Conquest to get bless. Eve is our tank in the front line, so she's going to be tanking with all the perks, and that's pretty much it. Everybody has all speed perks as well, because we need them in order to kill the enemies before they kill us. And yeah, that's about it. Let's get into the run now. So, hopping into the run, I didn't exactly fish for it, but we are going with a path that leads up to the hatch, goes down in through a portal, and goes down to the epic event that we get a well-fed boon card from. We got War Banner in the shop early, which is pretty nice, though what would have been nicer is a speed item. I skipped ahead here so that we can see all the deck changes that I've made. You can see all 2,900 of our shards have been spent. And feel free to pause if you want to see all of the decks that I created. I don't think these are the most optimized. I think I could have done a little bit better, but they seemed good enough, so I'm just going to go with it. We did end up buying a pet in the form of Betty, because we're going to be going down that path. And we get an emerald necklace in the next shop for Gustav, which is going to be great. Or not Gustav, actually. I want to get it on somebody else, like Wilbur, because Gustav is going to be picking up the Forest Crown ring later on. So, getting into our first fight here. We do get some nice slow cards in Captivating Voice from Gustav. I didn't really spend any money on divinations. I wanted to see how much I could get away with. This was actually my first attempt on doing the all spells run. That said, I had a number of resets in the later acts that I had to do with backed up saves, but you can see our first fight, we did win round 2. Sweet Melodies are pretty nice. We have a decent amount of heal coming off of them, plus the Dispel, so we at least have something to kind of recover between fights. Odivore is very nice to find early. It gives us our early powerful, it gives us 2 evade. I do have the evade perk on Gustav because we're going to be running Ballad of Evasions and things like that. I did put it in the perk pages, but we do have the buffer perk on Gustav on the perk pages, but not in this run, which ends up being a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, so this run is pretty hard. As you can see, I didn't fish for speed items on Gustav, which means that we're going to be suffering a little bit in that department. Whenever anything is faster than us, almost all the enemies went first, and we took a bunch of damage, and we're not going to be recovering that anytime soon. So I sort of just expected to die a lot, similar to the all mages run. There's not really too much you can do about that. Thankfully, like, unlike the all mages run, like the speed items that made Zek faster would only make them as fast as Gustav is now, typically. So Gustav being on the team is a huge boon. It's just we don't have any Inspire or any Energize, and it makes it so hard on these early fights to have any sort of consistency. I was spreading out damage here a lot. A lot of our early game damage comes from Shatter. So we're trying to get as much frost as we can with Eve, but we also want to build up lightning on Wilbur eventually, so it's a little bit complicated. We got unlucky going into the hatch. We got a lot of like wound cards going in, but fortunately it's not too bad, as we did get a card remove here. Unfortunately, like, I don't expect all of our heroes to survive this fight, so we're probably gonna have to remove some death stores, and they all have thorns on them, and we're gonna hit like every single one of those thorns, which is a lot of damage stacked up overall. So yeah, bit painful of a fight. Farmer has a little bit of AoE, Corn has a little bit of AoE, so only Wilbur's left with Amelia at 6 health at that, well, 4 health now, and 16 health for Amelia. Thankfully all the thorns are gone and we can finally take out that farmer, but it was a rough fight. But we get to remove Death Stores. We picked up another Rain. All these Rain cards are really good. We get to stack up a lot of Wet very fast. We can remove the Death Stores we picked up and 2 of the Broken Bones, which is definitely worth it for our troubles. Here I wanted to examine the statue. I didn't feel like fighting it, though fighting it might have been the better choice. We get Heat Surge on Wilbur so that he can have a little bit more energy going through. This is one of the reasons boon cards are so valuable for this fight. Gustav's able to pick up Leather Boots, which is a little bit more speed for him. So very nice for us. Having 19 speed as a base is super solid. It does mean that he will outspeed pretty much anything going forward after picking up Forest Crown. Not on this act, though. On this act, well, before we pick up Forest Crown, he's still going to be slower than some enemies. Wilbur's like getting targeted down by that mage there, but somehow he survived even though he was only at 5 health. Must have a decent amount of fire resist. Pretty lucky overall. We get more rain on Evelyn so she can stack up that rain faster. And as you can see, our level ups are pretty pointless. We can level up to gain 5 more max HP on our heroes, but it will put essentially a curse card in our deck because, again, I'm not playing enchantments. And outside the ones that duplicate the spells, because when you think about it, they're just an extra spell, right? And I totally didn't make that decision last second when I was stuck on Act 4. Definitely not. Thankfully, our fire demon here is pretty weak to ice, and we can take him out pretty quick. I don't expect him to last outside of round 2. He doesn't resist lightning all that well either, especially after we have a few wet charges and spark charges on him, so Wilbur does a good portion of damage, and Eve can finish him off. Charge Battery upgraded is actually kind of nice. It is one of the only energized cards that we're going to be picking up on this run, so having 2 extra energy on round 2 will sometimes be very useful, because I know most fights will probably go to round 2. Here I did mean to pick up Helmet on Amelia, but I accidentally picked up Spiked Bracers. I was talking to Melik at the time, and it was really funny. I was like, I'm going to pick up this helmet, and he was just like, you picked up Spiked Bracers. And I'm like, yeah, I know. This portal fight is really good for us. We can sometimes get Dimension Crystal, which can dupe our first spell that we play. Since we're an all spells team, that's very relevant. We also can pick up a lot of other decent items. I mean, we'll see some of them as we win the fight. Amelia is a really good character to have for these portal fights in particular, since she starts with all of them slowed and weakened. Now, they get rid of all of that by the second turn, which is a little bit annoying. And they also will guarantee go faster than you on round 2, simply because the guy in back, if you can't kill him, likes to purge all your fast and then slow you by 4 while speeding up his entire team by like 3 or something. So the speed is never going to work out in your favor in that case. They also have like reduce all aura charges, so you can't even frost them down. Very tricky enemies to beat if you can't kill the guy in back fast. Thankfully, they don't do too much damage. We did get a purple breastplate so that we can actually immediately trade out Amelia's armor again and make her super tanky. 25% resistances is great. Lapis Necklace on Eve is really nice because I do want her to go before Wilbur to stack up those wet charges. She's definitely taking on more of the support role. She has no damage perks outside of having more frost charges. Since she's taking this health potion is also very useful. So Lots of good pickups here very early on. We even got a shatter on Evelyn, so she'll be able to do a fair amount of damage with that. And that combined with our shatters on our other heroes, which we keep drawing early, unfortunately. I mean, kind of unfortunately. Sometimes it's good because we get to kill an enemy faster, but yeah, our AoE is less good against this stealth guy. He takes all the hits. I mean, it's kind of good because we proc all the stealth charges immediately, but then he has like 9 stealth on him, increasing his damage by like 180%, and he does a huge attack to the back hero, so there's no way we're having our non-tanky characters survive, even with a purple breastplate. We picked up a purple shatter, which is really great. Recurring Nightmare I thought about on Evelyn, but it's really not that great. Sadly, like with enchant weapons, recurring nightmares and all that stuff would be really, really good, but we're only going to be transforming Wilbur's damage once we get charged Trident. This fight again is a little bit tricky, mainly because the guy in the back, the Pyromancer, he likes to play Heat Wave and remove all the enemy's wet and frost charges, as well as do just a good solid chunk of damage. As you can see, he took out Gustav again there. I think that's like Gustav's 3rd or 4th death on this run. So yeah, and then Amelia eventually goes down again. Just a little bit unfortunate. Everybody starts to go down except for Evelyn. She thankfully survives, probably because of all those tanky perks. But we did get the removal of cards, so pretty solid for us there. I would take it again if I had the chance because, I don't know, the card removal really negates all the death's doors that we took, and we got to remove an extra card in Evelyn's deck, so it worked out for the best. Would we have died had we not taken the challenge? Maybe. The Dryad fight is, again, not too hard for us. We're pretty fast at taking her out, and as long as you're fast killing her in round 2, she shouldn't be a problem. If you don't kill her round 2, she is kind of difficult because she will dispel all the like wet and frost charges that you've applied and then heal a bunch and go super fast, so it'll be hard to take out. Gustav's able to pick up Forest Crown here as his ring, so he's going to be starting with 3 fast at every fight, making him at 25 speed faster than any enemy in the game, any base enemy or champion enemy that is. There are a few bosses that are still going to be faster, like the Hydra or the Necromancer or the Forge guy. A lot of the new bosses are super fast, but only in the beginning, and they don't do too much. Unfortunately here, we do fight another stealth guy, and also unfortunately, Amelia draws Death's Door, so she gets to have a bunch of vulnerable on her, as well as a bit of weaken, so she doesn't do nearly as much damage, and we can't take out all the enemies on round, or a single enemy on round 1, let alone all the enemies. But it's not too much of a problem, as we do have a lot of AoE. I fully expect us not to be able to take out this guy right here unless I draw like the best AoE of my life, which I do. And yeah, Evelyn doesn't have to die, which is pretty nice. We're again able to remove 2 cards by taking the challenge here, so all the Death Doors are now out of our deck. We got really lucky with finding a lot of card removal challenges. I level up Amelia here simply because I felt like 5 more max HP or 5 more HP in general would help her survive this fight just a little bit better. I can't remember if it actually comes into play, but if she survives at under 5 HP at all, then it was super worth, or if she ever goes down to that level. That said, it does put Regal Cold in the deck, which would normally be fantastic, because it's a really good enchantment that does just a bit of extra damage every time you play a spell, which is all we're playing. Unfortunately, though, yeah, she can't play it because of the rules I've put upon this run and myself, and it makes me sad. We are attacking through the thorns to try to get as much damage as possible. It's really tricky on whether I want to play Rains or Shatters or get more Frost up first. She does actually not go down, so I didn't have to do that. We have to skip a purple Scroll of Intellect here, which hurts me a lot, and just a regular upgraded Scroll of Intellect. Yeah, it was very painful to see some of these really good cards and drops go. Nothing here really speaks out to me or stands out to me except for maybe Yggdrasil Root, because it's a little bit of healing over time, and that can be useful over the course of a few fights. Now moving into Act 2, we do want to hit up the Charged Trident through the middle, so we don't get to go into any portals. Sadly, none of the portals lead there. I'm taking Feel free to pause and take a look at my decks. These are all the decks at the end of Act 1 and how they looked. Like I said, I was very lucky to remove all the Death Stores that I got. Can't really complain too much about that. However, this act ended up being extremely challenging. I reset this act like probably 3 or 4 times, like fully reset to the very start of town. Here's all my decks again. These are all of the changes that I've made, so feel free to record. We have a Heatwave in Evelyn's deck, or feel free to pause. We have Heatwave in Evelyn's deck to remove the Frost and the Wet that the Hydras put on. We also picked up Ballad of Evasion on Gustav, so we can have a little bit of Evade on round 2 potentially, as well as a Icicle Barrage in Amelia's deck, because it synergizes really well with her Eldritch Sword passive perk, giving her more damage and more damage mitigation every time she plays a 2-cost spell. We also picked up some pets there. Yeah, here we do the Blobs challenge. I forget what the reward was, but I think it was something decent, like healing up or some sort of thing. I actually don't remember what that was. I'm going by them pretty fast. The video sped up to 400%. In case anyone was wondering. So, imagine me playing all this 4 times slower. I did spend about 20 hours on this run. So definitely one of the more challenging things I've done. It's a little less time than All Mages, but I'd like to think that my All Mages run really helped prepare me for this challenge. I learned a lot about what's good in the Mages decks and like what scales really well into the late game, and what's like sort of the fastest way to do damage. That said, it doesn't all come into play because I don't get to use any of the amazing mage support cards or any of their self-buff cards. Like, I can't even play their one skill that gives them powerful and draw, meaning like Gustav is my one access to powerful, so getting that early war banner was super great. Now, I do guarantee a war banner pickup by stealing from the town. It was a shop. Shop here is pretty good because it gives us Brigand Armor, which is just more HP and resistance for Gustav. Same amount of speed as the leather boots. Fishing Rod would have been good here too because it's just extra draw each turn. I honestly probably should have gone for that instead, but I felt like Gustav needed survival based on the other runs that I had through this act. So yeah, I don't know. I also expected to pick up good accessories later on. Like, I know that there's a lot of good accessories for spells and mages, so I just was kind of thinking I'd find something even better later, which might be true. I'm not really sure, because the draw every turn is real good. Oh no, sorry, I remembered. I couldn't take it. I wanted to take the fishing rod. I know there's a fight going on. I wanted to take the fishing rod, but I couldn't because that would be playing food. So I decided, nope, I'm not even going to play food this run either. No other cards except for spells and the 2 enchantments that can increase the spells. We get really lucky on our pickups here. There is Ballad of Evasion number 2 for Gustav, as well as a purple superconductor on Amelia, which is good enough in my opinion just to take because we're going to be applying so much wet and doing so much electric damage anyways, and all monsters will have low resistance to it. So felt like a good solid choice there. It's also a 2-cost spell, so it increases her passive. Here you can see this was a fight. The reason I showed the death on this fight was mainly to remind myself that this fight was super painful most of the time. Like, this was the one fight in the map that kept on killing me, and I had to find ways to not make this fight kill me. One of them being do all the other fights earlier better. The other one being potentially getting that armor on Gustav. So, yeah. Gosh, I know I went on for fishing rod a bit there, but man, I really wish I could have taken it. I was like, why did I skip over that? That definitely was the better choice, but now I remember. It's the rules. It's the rules of the run. One of the things I had to do here was find a way to take out the Pyromancer and the ball in the same turn. We do fortunately get a purple Shadow Lightning, so they don't get to go, meaning we don't take a ton of damage. Gustav doesn't die here. Wilbur doesn't die here, because if they get to go, they do die here. So yeah, we survived this fight with all our heroes at a little bit over half health. We also have those bandages we picked up earlier, really paying dividends. Getting 4 HP at the end of every fight, while it doesn't seem like much, is paying off. We also get our first meaningful level up, in the sense that we have more passives that all pay off here. Amelia's won't really do much for most of the run. I might have wanted to go for the other spell sword one, where anything that is 1 cost or higher triggers her passive instead of 2-cost or higher. But I had already built her decks with so many 2-cost cards in mind that I wanted to see if I could essentially pull off the 2-cost Eldritch Sword passive. I think it was probably the wrong choice, but I didn't want to lose out on the damage either. Here, our AoE is paying off again. We aren't really caring about stealth too much because we seem to be killing enemies through stealth. I did get to pick up a purple Malicious Eye there. Reason I did that is because I know I'm going to be transforming Wilbur's damage. It's a good 0-cost chain 2 card, so it's going to be hitting a lot of enemies. And the base damage doesn't matter too much since a lot of our damage is coming from the wet charges applied to enemies. So it's definitely going to be a very nice 0-cost card in comparison to like a Zap, even though it won't apply as much Spark. And now that we have Wilbur's level 3, Spark is dealing damage to the enemy that it is on as well as the enemies around them. One of the things I didn't have for this run, but don't worry, I have them in the perk pages, is the electric charges also spreading 30% of their charges to enemies on their sides, which allows them to stack up really fast and kind of scale up. So, yeah. This fight is pretty hard for the lightning run. It's one of the reasons, like, the fight that before this, when I died, made this fight so much harder because I had Death's Doors in the deck, and then Gustav was really low, and then he would die really early on, and anyways, it all cascades out of control if you, like, go down just a little bit. Here's the Charged Trident. Nothing super special except for the Stainless Cuirass. It is a good armor. It does lower Evelyn's speed, but I already have a speed item on her. It's going to make her faster than Wilbur still. We do have the frog choice here to get over the water. No real risk to that. I take the money option here because at this point I was feeling pretty confident I'd done this particular route like so many times. I was starting to become an expert on all these fights. The reason I had to do this run so many times was because I kept getting to the Hydra and dying. And I had to make sure that I was in good shape for the Hydra. Now, part of it wasn't even just being in great shape for the Hydra. Part of it was just the card order difference in the RNG. Like, basically what I found is if I had any Death's Doors going into the Hydra fight, I was just doomed because I need every one of the 5 cards that I draw on turn 1 and every one of the 6 cards I draw on the rest of the heroes on turn 2. So, yeah. Without the Death's Doors index, the RNG is a lot better for me, and I can survive. Unfortunately, Evelyn does take a lot of damage this fight. She gets pretty low, down to 50 health. I'm trying to heal her up as much as possible with our sad little heals from Gustav. I also make sure that she can go, so she gets a little bit of that regen heal. I do debate for a little while whether I want something like Shock Nova or even the Noxious Poison, because I could pick up a, whenever you apply wet accessory, apply poison. So we could scale our electric damage that way. The Hydra fight is really tough. A lot of reasons for that. Of course, there's the first Hydra that goes fast. They like to put wet and slow everybody with frost. We do have Heat Wave for that, but we don't get it super early on in this fight. Thankfully, we also have Dispels in Gustav's deck, so we don't necessarily need it super early on. The first Hydra that taunts us is immune to wet, so while they can take a decent amount of electricity damage, they're not going to be taking as much damage as I would like from cold or lightning, making them kind of one of the tankiest Hydras for us to actually kill, despite the fact that the electric Hydra is completely immune to the Spark. But Spark isn't as important for lowering the resistances, since wet can also lower resistance by a substantial amount too. So yeah, here we do draw Heat Wave, but it only kind of gets rid of a lot of the wet charges on Wilbur, which is still good because it'll make him take a lot less damage. And yeah, we're on round 2. I was really hoping to kill a Hydra head by now, but it might be better that we don't, because I think the Hydra in back starts to summon, which is pretty rough for us if they do. So I was debating whether I do Shatter there. Yeah, I think they tried to summon there and then couldn't. Either that or they're going to summon round 3 and I'm going to be very sad. But I had done this fight quite a bit. I showed a little bit of a clip of it in the beginning with Evelyn going to round 9 and still just suffering. I can't remember if this is the actual winning fight or if this is the non-winning fight. Take your bets now. Eau de Vor, I want to put on Wilbur for the evasion, but I also want to put it on Amelia for the +5 powerful so that she can do a bit more damage. But I put it on Wilbur because I think him surviving in the next turn is a little bit better. And then he dies to poison anyway, so I feel like somehow this isn't the fight that wins, but I could be wrong. We are getting really close to taking down these other enemies here. The purge from Rifty is actually being pretty useful. You get an extra Hydra head here. Amelia's going to go down next turn to poison. At this point, like, I'm just hoping against hope that, like, this is going to work out. I do make sure that I have this, God. Yeah, I had that bounce card the entire fight, and it was working real well, except I accidentally hit the back Hydra with Rifty, and now I say accidentally, but like I couldn't control that. Rifty was just going to target whoever. And if Rifty had targeted the other Hydra, I would have gotten a lot more damage done to this Hydra, and yeah, it would have been pretty good. Now, I am surviving here on Evelyn. One of the reasons that I have her in front is because she does get a insulate at the start, and she already has good resistances for all those damage types, so she's able to survive a lot of the Hydra heads pretty well, and actually with all the regen, she was able to win at like 6 HP left while all the other heroes were dead. So yeah, pretty rough. We do get super lucky here. We find an Emerald Staff. Emerald Staff reduces the highest cost spell in your hand by 3. So this means we can potentially entertain Blizzards and Shock Novas on Amelia. I didn't want to pick it up on Wilbur because he already had Charged Trident, and I do think the Wet Charges and Spark application are super necessary. So yeah, then we find another Emerald Staff, which I don't necessarily need to be purple, but if I get it purple, I can play Shatters for free on some turns for Amelia, and I think that'd be pretty good. Again, feel free to pause here. This is my decks at the end of Act 2, and then I'm going to cut ahead to my decks at the beginning of Act 3, so you can see all the changes that I made. So I'll try to go over any standout changes that I remember. Here I did leave a few Death's Doors in the deck, it looks like. No real reason for that, I was kind of just gambling. We have 2 Squalls in Evelyn's deck, it's very nice. I made sure to cut out a few Rains from Wilbur's deck. Should have probably cut out a few more Electrical Discharges, but I didn't have money left because I wanted to buy the Emerald Staff. We bought Winter Orb here for Amelia, it looks like. Oh, and a Blizzard. We might have had Winter Orb before. Someone who paused would probably know. We bought Blizzard because I now can play it. Oh, we got Cloak of Speed on Gustav, of course, so that he never has Gustav, or never has Gustav issues, no. Never has speed issues again. Now he's going to be set for the rest of the run, and we can get rid of his Forest Crown ring, which is good, because he can definitely have more useful rings. We go the Pet Trainer route here. Because it gives us really good pets. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it gives us the Lightning Seahorse Purple, which does apply Wet and Spark to all enemies, as opposed to just applying some lightning damage and Spark to one enemy. And thanks to Gustav being faster than the bunny and also drawing the slow on the first turn, we are able to slow down the bunny so not the entire team goes first, and we can kill it before it applies evasion and a huge speed buff to the entire enemy team. And yeah, that Cloak of Speed, or honestly just the Forest Crown in general, super useful. And as you can see, Spark's also taking out enemies like before they even get to go. We pick up a 3rd Ballad of Evasion here, unupgraded, unfortunately. Like, really unfortunately. We do get a card removal here. Did not know that was coming up, just got lucky. Probably should remove Frostbolt instead of the Electrical Discharge, but I did want Evelyn applying as much of the Frost or Chill as possible, because it does help our Shatter in Wilbur's deck as well. Remember, Shatter scales off of Chill, so it is a scaling card that we get. Oh, I did pick up Reoccurring Nightmare on Wilbur, that's right, for some really high single target damage if I ever need to focus somebody down. Yeah, gosh, so many changes. But Shatter transforms into lightning damage, so it is a scaling lightning damage card for Wilbur, which is very solid. At 3 cost, I should add. Which is very important for this run, since we only have 4 energy on any given turn for the most part. Unless we're not spending all our energy efficiently, because we draw a bunch of expensive cards, like Amelia does quite often. Although the Emerald Staff is really what's keeping her deck cost down. Here we get a nice mass heal for Gustav. It is a stanza 2 card, so we won't be able to play it stanza 1 or turn 1. Unfortunately, like Battle of Evasion, which, gosh, if there's any way to make that stanza 1, oof, that'd be so good. Or if I could have Gustav pick up a stanza 2 card or get something straight away to go stanza 2, which I am planning to do in Act 4, by the way. I fully intend on visiting the bell and making it so that Gustav can, excuse me, get a purple, gosh, what is it? Chant of Initiative or the Captivating Voice, which allows you to, once you play it, get stanza 2. So meaning we could have stanza 2 turn 1. Gustav's passive is really coming in the clutch here as well, as is Shock Nova a lot of the time. Shock Nova is a great card, by the way. I didn't pick it up on Amelia that one time, which, I don't know, I was definitely debating. Mainly because I didn't think I needed it for the extra slow chances because she was already applying so much frost, but Shock Nova applying 4 slow, very solid. God, I'd love that Book of Nightmares. Shuffle Recurring Nightmares into Wilbur's deck, but I can't take it because it is a book, not a spell. So many things I wish I could do. Here we get another option to remove cards, so I figure I'd take it in case Gustav or somebody else dies here. I would be able to remove cards, and I do want to prioritize taking out the back 2. Because one of them silences our back hero, the other one speeds up the entire team, also purges a bunch of our stats. And yeah, we do manage to take out the one that's going to silence Amelia, so that's good at least. At least she'll be able to go on the next turn. Gustav is still very fast thanks to the speedy items he's picked up. And we are able to play Battle of Evasion for the next turn, and we also slow down the enemies with Captivating Voice and stuff, so we're like not even in trouble. I could play Shock Nova here. I opt not to because I really want to make sure that the enemies in back are going to die. Shock Nova might have been useful for taking out the Harpy here, but I decided to just let it go. I didn't think it was going to kill us, and it doesn't, so I think it was the right choice. Just let it stay in stealth and then come out of it so we don't have to rely on drawing AoE cards. And here we just get a nice free card removal, which is good because card removal does cost money at this point, so any money we can save for better items is great. Now, we do get some useful level ups here. Of course, at this point, I hadn't decided that I was going to be using any of the enchantments, but I decided after banging my head against the Act 4 bosses that I was going to take it a little bit easier on myself and use only the copy spells. Again, they're kind of like spells if you really think about it. It's just an extra copy of one. Maybe there'll be one person in the comments being like, illegitimate run. Don't worry. I think it's fair. Man. Alright, so this run was super hard. This fight, however, not super hard. Very easy. Barely an inconvenience. Necropotence would be nice to take here. Purple Book of Nightmares really hurts. Blue on Wilbur is also the right one because it puts all those cards into your hand. So many Book of Nightmares I wanted to take here, but nope. No such luck. Now, thankfully, we did get another Portal fight, which let us get Dimension Crystal. Like I said, that is the copy spell, and put it into your hand. It's the first spell that you play, so that's kind of good. Thermal Amulet does increase our wet charges, so I thought about taking that on somebody, but in the end, could have taken on Gustav, just didn't need it. But yeah. Here, it's funny, all these people have ways to make this fight better. I don't know why. This fight's not particularly hard, most of the time. Though the front 2 dragon guys are a little bit annoying if you spread out your damage a lot or do a lot of AoE because they transfer all the curses and they take all your auras and stuff, and yeah. Still, not too bad for us. I do remember that we have the Dimension Crystal at this point, so I make sure I play that Shatter first to get a second copy of it, even though there wasn't much frost on the enemies at the time. And here I make sure that we're healing up, because I don't want to be going to the dragon fight or the fight before the dragon fight with too little health. And I'm pretty confident we can kill on round 2. And I think we're going to be... oh, God, yeah. Oh, man, we had so much damage left over. Winter's Knight's Tale, pretty good card. Electrocute, not such a great card. Just too expensive to play, 5 cost. It does give Energize, which is nice, but the rest of its stuff isn't really that good. Another Lapis Necklace would be nice on Evelyn. It does give her more speed, but I thought about it a lot, and I think Icebreaker with the plus chill charges was actually going to be better. We aren't applying Crack too often outside of playing Shatter, but Eldritch Sword, even though it adds a little bit of tankiness to Evelyn and is being pretty good, I figured scaling up our damage faster with Frost is just going to be even better. I finally get rid of our bandages here and take the Detox Potion on Wilbur. It does get rid of the or it does dispel, so it's going to be helping him survive in a little bit extended fights, which we do sometimes have to fight. And then Lapis Necklace on the Frog means he's going to be faster than the clones in the final act, as long as we play a speed 3. Now, here's another challenge. Feel free to figure out which one it is. I already moused over. It is the one on the left. That one I was actually able to follow without relying on my recorded video. Of course, I watched my recorded video anyways, just to make sure, because I never trust myself. And yeah, turns out it was indeed on the left. This fight, nothing too scary here outside. I guess the champion in back does like to speed up the entire team, so it is good to kill them if we can. But I figured I could take cold hands here because we're not actually too in danger with cold hands. We're already doing scaling cold damage, so even the -3 damage doesn't hurt us that badly, as we're applying so many wet charges to enemies that it's like plus 30 damage whenever we attack them. Kind of. It's not exactly how damage works, but it's close. Yeah, again, nothing too spectacular here. The Frost Mage is a little bit annoying with the aura that they put on themselves. Also, they're going to stun round 2, so I do need to make sure that I'm taking them out, that I take out everybody. So, yeah, it's not a big deal. Here, Amelia could have taken a Ball Lightning, which I think she should have. I just didn't think about it. A Winter's Knight's Tale would have been good. I take a Icicle Barrage on Wilbur, because I actually think it's not too bad for him. It does give him 3 targeted spells if I upgraded it. Or if I upgrade it. And yeah, target lightning, extra lightning damage, since we're doing on hit build, seems really good. It's not quite a Ball Lightning, but it is not terrible. And it does allow us to apply a ton of wet charges, letting Amelia do even more damage in round 2. Now, since we're copying the first card that we play every turn, I do copy Amelia's card, as it does give her some Energize and Inspire. I forgot to mention that is one of the Energize and Inspire cards. It's just a hero card. It's still a spell, though, so I'll take it. Yeah, I really really underestimated Act 4 here. The dragon I didn't underestimate at all. I figured he would die super easy like he did there. Here we take that upgraded Ball Lightning now, as now is the time I went back and had gone to the dragon fight, because I saw something in it that I thought would work real well. I looked at Clairvoyant Scroll and I'm like, oh, I transform damage into lightning. This is going to be amazing. Every time I play a spell, I'm going to do damage in lightning to all other enemies. I know they don't proc on hit effects, but it's still going to be super good. Sapphire Ring on Amelia, of course, does give her 2 more Energize at the start of the battle, so she's going to be able to play those expensive cards no problem, thanks to the Emerald Staff and her ring. We do pick up the Spell Echo here. We're picking up all these enchantments here, though I'm going to be getting rid of the Ice Palace and the other one on Wilbur. Here you can see our decks at the end, or I guess this is really just the start of Act 4, before we do any modifications, and then I will cut ahead to show all the decks modified. Feel free to pause and take a look whenever you like. Now, I am going to save a bunch of shards and a bunch of money, because I want to buy better stuff. The shop wasn't very exciting. The bell can corrupt a bunch of cards, so that's why I'm saving all my shards, basically. Spending only a little bit to get a few extra cards. We changed Ball Lightning to 7 cost. It might have been better at the 9 cost, but I could only play it first turn if that was the case with Amelia. So I didn't really want to risk that, though having the extra damage on it probably would have been better. I'm not sure. Since we weren't self-buffing Amelia too much, I don't think it matters a whole ton. But who knows? Yeah. Sorry, I was like thinking really quick there. We are going to be copying the spell a lot, which is why the 9 cost might be a lot better than the 7 cost, because we can copy it with Spell Echo and the Dimension Crystal. So we could potentially have a triple Ball Lightning at this point. Very solid. We can also get a triple Blizzard too if we draw it early. Evelyn takes Winter Orb here. It's a great way to apply Frost to the entire team. That shop had nothing of interest to us. I had been through Act 4 at least like 5 times at this point. So I've become an expert at most of these fights with this particular team. The RNG for cards is pretty much always the same if you have the same cards in deck. Just a little FYI for anybody who's curious. Backup saves were so critical for me finishing this run in the span of a week. Had I had the time, I might have been able to do this run a lot more often, but I'm very thankful that I didn't have to redo over and over again. Now we are able to triple up our superconductor there. That is one of those cost things that I was super happy to have. Ballad of Evasion, didn't think I needed it this turn. There's a lot of times Ballad of Evasion just like was not useful throughout this entire run, even though I thought it was going to be like this amazing card in my deck. But it does come in handy later on, trust me. We can't play Ball Lightning on Wilbur, even though that's normally how you'd make this whole run pop off. We've gotten several options to get it. It's just we don't have the energy to play it on him. We do get super lucky here. Bleh. And we get a few lucky purples straight away. We get the cheapened cost, so we can try out more purples. We get the purple chant of initiative. So now there's a decent chance we can play other cards turn 1. Stanza 2 cards turn 1. We get captivated. All 3 of Gustav's choices worked out. I did make one of them 10% better with 400 extra shards. And I go for that last Icicle Barrier. I should have stopped at 6 cards being purple, like successfully, but no. I wanted to test my luck with 7. And I get a Void Memory for my troubles. Here, these fights are pretty difficult. I don't know if you noticed, but the first fight that we had on this floor was in a Spark Immune Bowl. So, of course, he didn't want to take as much damage. The second fight, I don't think had anything relevant. This fight has a Light Angel that we are doing the Putrefaction challenge on because we have a ton of money and they are going to give us an exotic shop for 30% less. So, very good. But a Wet Immune Angel has 90-ish% like electric resistance or something like that. I don't know, maybe it was just 80, but it felt like a ton. And of course, we're not doing that extra bonus damage with our cold and electric because of the wet. So this angel's super painful for us to fight. And as with many things, is slightly RNG dependent. Now, the one thing that does change is like if you're going back and doing fights over again through a floor, enemies play different cards. Just seemingly randomly. Like they have a few set cards that they can play at the start of a fight, and sometimes they'll play ones that really hurt you, sometimes they'll play ones that are not too bad. So it's kind of a gamble. Purple Mono Gem, have to skip. Here's where the whole run comes together and we actually have a shot at winning, because trust me, we don't without this. just trust me. Mirror of Cassandra, purple. Costs all 3,000 of our gold. There's other good items in there, the Frost Mallet being one of them. We can apply Frost Faster, Avoidance Amulet, of course, also very good. We can have Evade every single turn. Very solid options there. But nah, it's got to be the Mirror of Cassandra, doubling up the first card we play every turn twice. Super good. So that's actually doubling up the first 2 cards that we play, so we can kind of mix and match if we want to, though most of the time we'll be playing the most expensive card twice. It was important for me to pick up the Ball Lightning on Amelia and have the Mirror of Cassandra here to basically quadruple up on it. As you can see, we did a lot of damage, but not quite enough. Ballad of Evasion does come in handy here. We're drawing our chances of initiative and Captivating Voice. That stands a 2 on round 2. I think that happens like every single fight. I don't think there's a single fight where we draw at round 1. But that's okay. The dream was alive in a parallel universe. It worked once. Didn't help us win, but it worked. Yeah. The twins fight here was one of the main roadblocks. Without the Mirror of Cassandra, I just can't kill them fast enough. I don't know, like I guess I didn't build my decks well enough, or I didn't have a good enough plan. It's RNG dependent. Like I don't draw my most damaging cards turn 1 sometimes, and then I just lose. We are able to do our bounce card though 3 times with Amelia, despite not having any copy spells naturally. I mean, we would have had 1 copy spell with the Dimension Crystal, but you know what I mean. It would have been just a little bit not enough. Now, drawing the bounce spell is so good to draw. It's so good early because it gets so bad once they have the damage rebuff on us. Here we find Cloud Song, which reduces the highest cost of cards in your hand by 2. I figure that's actually really solid. Now, Blackguard's also really solid. It's immune to dark. It could make us so we don't die to the final boss or hand check with one of our characters, pretty much. But I pick up Cloud Song on Wilbur, and I figure him having less expensive deck will be pretty helpful. Maybe we can pick up something more expensive later on. We get all the things that you probably think we would get. We increase all our damage. We get Glass Cannon plus 6% damage at the cost of 25 max HP on Evelyn. And we fight another Wet Immune Angel going on the bottom path here. Evelyn does take the Spell Sword at +3 at the start of her turn if she has 0. Very relevant for us as it gives her +6 damage at the start of turn, as well as 3 mitigate damage. So yeah. Here is a card removal option. There's also a shop here. The shop doesn't have anything too useful. Don't worry about it. How do I know? Because I've been here before. I've done this. I've tried so hard. One of the reasons I did not give up on this run, although I was close to doing it several times, even with Mirror of Cassandra, I wasn't winning for quite some time. But I figured out how to do it, and that was with picking up Ball Lightning on Amelia, not picking up Mirror of Cassandra on Wilbur, and yeah, realizing that I could actually do a bunch of Ball Lightning plays if I draw early. So yeah. There we're still able to kill the Angel despite not having many good cards for it. Pick up a nice upgraded Blizzard for Wilbur. We are able to remove our Death Stores that we picked up throughout the fights. And we're moving on. These are going to be the last of the upgrades. I wanted Battle of Evasions to at least give more Inspire if I have the choice. I also would have loved to upgrade my Recurring Nightmare, but I get no such luck in getting the Altar to be cheaper, so we just go with the non-cheaper version. Gustav, you can see, has a very great turn there where he basically just plays Song of Celerity, and that's it. He plays his enchantment to copy a spell too, but that doesn't really matter. Thankfully, playing 3 Ball Lightnings is just enough to win. We get Ballad of Conquest at the end of this fight, finally. It's kind of nice to have, though I'm not sure how useful it's going to be. And if I was going to remove any card here that I didn't remove on the actual run, it would be the Song of Celerity. Definitely something I should have done, as it was not going to be helpful in the final fights, because I don't actually want to go faster with all my other heroes outside of Gustav, for reasons that will become readily apparent. But basically it's because the final bosses summon clones on their first turn, and I want to go after the clones so that I can kill them, or slow them down enough so that they don't go first on the second turn. Otherwise they will be a lot of trouble for me to deal with by healing up their bosses, debuffing us, and making it so we draw even less cards and have less energy, which is something I really don't need since we already don't have those things. Yeah, Superconductor, purple, very nice card to double up on, or triple up on in this case. Having Mirror of Cassandra on Amelia has the added benefit, by the way, of giving us more Vanish cards, which will go back into her deck when she hits 5 Spell Sword, which is why we hit the 5 Spell Sword or which is why we took the get 3 Spell Sword if you have 0 Spell Sword at the start of combat, or at the start of your turn. So yeah, moving into the final fight here. It's a hatch fight, doesn't really have much for us. We get another Ballad of Conquest if we want. I have to take it. Take a look at this last shop here. Viper Ring and the Skills Handbook is just kind of funny, as I could have loved that at the last run that I had, but you know, who needs all those good things on the skills run? Here we did keep Song of Celerity, so there is 1 dead card that we're guaranteed to draw, and of course we draw 3 of our Stanza 2 cards. I think 3 of our 4, maybe 5 Stanza 2 cards. So we don't have a lot of them, but we drew almost all of them. Song of Celerity, of course, we didn't play, so we just played our 1 card there, Battle of Evasion, and we played it on Gustav just so he can survive. Now, we are able to Ball Lightning a lot, but you can see it doesn't do the most damage, largely because I don't have Wet on. Like, I couldn't charge Trident Ball Lightning, so you're not applying Wet every time you hit, and you're not applying the most Spark because Amelia just didn't have the Spark on her during this playthrough, though I think it would have just been better if I had had it on her, since having her pick up the Ball Lightnings in the end is going to be really good. I'm hitting the hand check here because I figure Amelia is going to take out the clones with AoE. She definitely does. I can triple up on Shatter. We did hit 5 Spell Swords, so all our Vanish cards go back into our deck at -3 cost. So I'm going to play our starting spell, or our hero spell here first, so that I can get a little bit more Inspire and Energize on the following turn. Amelia is such a good add to this run. All spells would have been so much harder without her. Handshake does unfortunately have a ton of HP though, so we're still dealing with that. The purple shadow that we picked up on Evelyn thanks to the bell is very handy. Reoccurring Nightmare, of course, is a lot of good damage. So we get up to 50 wet on Handshake, 200, what's it called here? And we're able to play, what is this? 5 ball lightnings, 5 0-cost ball lightnings this turn. We had more damage in hand if we needed to, but didn't need it. The 50 wet and 200 spark was good enough. I don't know what that little blackout was, but that was the thing. So here we go. We are on the final fight. We did make sure not to play Song of Celerity. I still had to redo this fight for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Very, very tricky fight to manage because martyrdoms go on the top of your deck, of course, and they slow down your heroes, both things that we don't exactly want. Now, the slowdown isn't too bad as we do get to triple up on Blizzard our first turn with Amelia. We also get to play our Superconductor first turn while there's still a clone out, so very nice for us to have the jump spell while it can jump around. It's really bad when it doesn't jump around. And yeah, get the purple one on Wilbur as well that we got thanks again to the bell. We also are able to play our Blizzard here, and we do as much damage to the boss as possible, and trust me, we need to. Now, we already shuffled our Vanish cards back into our deck, so we're not going to be finding Ball Lightnings again at like low cost on our next turns with Amelia, which is kind of unfortunate, since we're going to be getting reduced card draw here on the thanks to the boss, finally, or probably. Yeah, those chimes that go into your deck give you less card draw. You can see we only have 4 cards. Now, one of the reasons I didn't play Martyrdom on Gustav was because I knew that he needed to draw an extra card to get the Ballad of Evasion because I'd done this fight like 7 times at this point. So I had it down pretty well. We play Shatter, we play Blizzard. The reason we're playing our Shatters over Blizzard is because it does about a little bit more damage, like about 100 more. Also, it makes it so that we hit the boss list, so we're not applying as much dark to ourselves. She still goes down to a really low amount of health, but we have 3 evasion on Amelia, so I figured she'll do pretty well. I don't want to hit too much with Wilbur here, because if I do, he's going to pop himself with dark, and I don't want to die to dark. Thankfully, the Vanish apply dark based on your Vanish cards bounce spell that the boss plays. Man, I feel like that was just a jumble of words. It doesn't hit Wilbur, so he doesn't explode, and we get to have him one more round, which is great because the boss just reduced all his aura charges down to 40%. And we need to apply as much wet as possible. Now, Amelia was able to do that herself, kind of, with Blizzard, and she applied a bunch more Frost, which was super, super handy. So our Shatters can do more damage, although we've already used most of our purple Shatters. And Wilbur can apply the rest of the wet on him if he gets another hit, but he doesn't, so he just gets to apply 5 more wet, which is good. Gustav and Wilbur go down here. Amelia and Evelyn almost go down here. Amelia to 2, Evelyn to 1. And we are just barely able to eke out a victory with spells only. My goodness, this was quite the challenging run. I was pretty bailed out by a purple Mirror of Cassandra, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, there's not too much more to say here. We had 12 hero deaths. Obviously, this isn't going to be my best score. I had to go through a lot of hoops to make this work. I definitely think maybe going the slow route where we have a bunch of healing, we have a bunch of bless and stuff like that might have been a safer choice, but I wanted to do something that was quick after trying the all skills challenge and the all deal no direct damage with cards challenge. So yeah, that's the all spells run. Here's our items at the end of the game. Here's all our cards. Pretty good stuff. It's funny that we ended up keeping the banner to the end of the game. Reoccurring Nightmare, definitely an MVP card. The Mirror of Cassandra, of course, MVP in general. Wilbur did the most damage throughout the course of the game. Amelia almost caught up thanks to the end there. I think like she did 20,000 of her damage at the end. And that's going to be it. Thanks again for watching. I really enjoyed this challenge. I'm not looking... Well, I am actually... That's a lie. I'm super looking forward to the all attacks run. I don't think it can work, and I might have to come up with another caveat in order to make it work. For fun, here's a few more of my attempts on the final boss. I just wanted to show. show where I'd gotten to. I got him down so low a few times. These are probably the 2 lowest times that I'd gotten him down, and I was so close to winning, which is why I kept trying. But man, man, I had to retry this so often to like suffer so hard at such a close fight. Oh, God. It was rough. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks again. Please like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. All Attacks run should be coming next week. I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. See you next time.